I'll quickly introduce Aprameya. Aprameya is a co-founder of Coup, which is a social media app. Before Coup, he co-founded a fairly successful startup called Taxi for Sure. He's been part of the startup ecosystem at least for the last 8 years, and has played a fairly important role, at least in the Bangalore ecosystem, in terms of angel investment or in terms of helping companies or even building out his second venture. Big disclaimer, Aprameya is an investor in the morning context. So all of you who are in the session need to know this. Um, and with that, I think we can begin. Okay. Um, Aprameya, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate that you could take the time. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me over.
Okay. So I'll go first. Um, uh, I think the first thing really is to sort of get a lay of the land of social media landscape from you. I think the words that come to my mind right now, especially in the short form coup space that you are, is that it's a polarized sort of audience. Um, it's fairly sort of influential people on the platform, and there seems to be a lot happening around news and events. I'm wondering, like, how do you sort of see the social media space right now? We can begin there and then sort of take it up.
Yeah. So, social media is a very complex space, right? So, after running Taxi for Sure, which is a transaction startup, um, just switching my mind out of transaction and getting into something as soft as social media, right? There's no, take somebody from point A to point B, drop them and take the money and it's done, right? That's one ride. Here, there is no end to how much content, who they follow, what you show. There's no end to it. So I think just getting out of transaction context and getting into the social media context took some time, right? Um, Social media basically each social media network is unique. Those are formed based on the mood of the platform. So Facebook has the mood of family and friends. So ever since we've been on the platform, we basically said, okay, I want to go and connect with this friend of mine, this family of mine, right? And we're basically, clicking on the logo of Facebook in the hope of getting some updates from family and friends, right? They might have introduced videos and all of those things, but that's not what it is. A network always remains as to how they started, as in the positioning of it, right? Instagram is lifestyle. What I wear, who I'm with, where I party, all of that happens on Instagram. Bollywood has the best lifestyle in the Indian context, hence they do best, right? So who I follow or who I connect with on Facebook might be very different from who I connect with on Instagram. So the networks are now different. Who I connect with on Twitter is for thoughts and opinions. So the network that I form there is different from Instagram and different from Facebook. Who I connect with on TikTok or the replicas is based on entertainment value. Like I call TikTok micro Bollywood. 3 hour Shah Rukh Khan movie made into a 30-second somebody entertaining you. If the same somebody made a 3 hour movie, you would never watch it, right? So the network I follow form on TikTok or its replicas is unique. So the mood you make and the kind of uh, networks that are formed with a reason is what makes a social network. Can you find a unique enough uh, network of people is what matters when you want to build a successful social network, right? In India, a social network has never been built. Coup is probably the first attempt at it because the mood is around thoughts and opinions, one. And the people we are connecting are the unconnected people in thoughts and opinions. Right? How are we doing that? We're using language as one way. Right? So we have a network for Hindi speaking guys, Tamil speaking guys, Telugu speaking guys who have never connected before in an open network to share thoughts and opinions. Right? What all the English guys take for granted, this is the first in their life experience of actually saying whatever comes to their mind and somebody influential listening to them. Right? So that is the unique network that we are building at Coup. And the English speaking audience of India gets to connect with this new audience, which has never been formed before. Right? So hence a unique thought and opinion network connecting deeper into the country is what we're building at Coup. Very different from what exists already.
Aprameya, how do you see the Twitter landscape in comparison to Coup?
So
Yeah.
I think, my perspective on it is Twitter was formed in US and English speaking folks got onto the platform, they shared their thoughts and opinions. Then the network sought out other English speaking folks across the world. If you visualize the map of the world, there is high connections in US. Then it also extended its arms across the world to all other English speaking folks. Right? So you will see heavy connections in US, heavy connections in UK, but then the connections die down as soon as you get to countries that have more local languages. Right? So Twitter connects the English speaking world and does that very well. What we have seen, so we started this thought in November 2019, and what we had seen was this network for thoughts and opinions doesn't exist. The voice of a person who doesn't know English does not exist for thoughts and opinions on the internet. What they might share is in a closed network like WhatsApp or a Facebook, but in an open network where my voice can be found by anybody, right, does not exist. And hence we started.
With all the noise around self-reliance, and we have seen a whole bunch of opportunist entrepreneurs come in and uh, build their own platforms and replicas and clones of whatever is foreign social or tech. Where does Coup fit in there?
So, our whole reason for existence is that we found an incite where voices of language speaking Indians, their thoughts and opinions, their whatever they think of what is happening in the country, what is happening in the world, what is happening around them is not existent. Right? So we started way before any of the chaos started happening. Right? So Coup is not opportunistic. Coup solves a problem, and we've been at it for a long time. Right? Now, situations changed and got us into a place where we saw large spike, right? And that wasn't by design. It's just serendipitous, right? Just like every other entrepreneurial story, you might have an idea, but the idea's time has to come, and our time came with Twitter fighting with the government of India, right? So. I think it's you can say that what could have taken 2-3 years happened to us in a year, right? Because of the incident. But the problem had to be solved, and we would solve it. Just got accelerated, right? So the key difference is that on the Coup platform, we do not show you content as soon as you download the app. We show you faces. You choose who you want to follow. Right? So the world is yours. If you follow politicians, you'll get politics. If you follow writers, you'll get writer, as in literature. You follow, Bollywood guys, you'll get entertainment, right? So it depends on who you follow on Coup, right? Second is not a single piece of content on Coup ever since inception has been seeded by us, has never been, put in by any, strategy of, okay, what do we show? It's always been people. It's also important to note that we've never ever paid anybody. So irrespective of how big the celebrity is, we've never paid them for their existence on Coup nor for their content on Coup. So it is a very pure network that has been formed because they find a new network which is giving them love, right? So movies in India are made in local language. There is no English movie industry. The cricketers, the people who fill the stadiums, most of them are speaking local language as their preference. Right? Politicians get their votes mostly from local language speaking guys. They want to connect with them for thoughts and opinions. How was my innings today? How do I know what a Tamilian wants to say unless there is a platform for it, right? So this is the world that we've created, and there is a lot of value, true value, that the biggest of celebrities, irrespective of interest, find in Coup, and that's why they stick.
Just sorry, Acha, Harveen, go ahead.
No, on the note of serendipity and purity that you were saying, like, there is a lot of noise on Coup being the mouthpiece of an authoritarian government, or a platform for those who lean right and not as neutral. What do you say to that?
So Coup is a very true platform, right? As I said. Now, you are what you eat is what we say, right? You eat a lot of burgers every day, you will look like, you've eaten a lot of burgers. Now, if, one side, the ruling party comes and they enter the, platform, obviously when you log into the platform, you will see faces of them. If the opposition party doesn't come, you can't blame the platform. It is open, anybody can download, right? And over the months, there are a lot of opposition party leaders who have also seen that, Coup is the place to be. It is the place to connect with language speaking folks, right? And we've got the Chief Minister of Rajasthan, we've got Mr. Kamal Nath, we've got Ms. Supriya Sule, we've got, a whole lot of leaders who have used the platform the way it needs to be, which is to connect with their own fans and followers, right? So it's an open platform. Everybody is welcome. The platform will take a look of whoever is on the platform, because we don't control anything, right? So you could just say, okay, I'm being perceived this, so let me show something else more. No, so it's like the land of India, right? Like, all of us live here. Who is like land? Like, whoever occupies it, occupies it. So
but what happens? Sorry, you were saying. No, I wanted to ask, like, what happens when, say, a government or a branch of a government or any department for that matter reaches out to you and says that, this post needs to be taken down because for whatever reason. We've seen like that happen with farmer protest as well on Twitter, from where the fight started this year. What happens when the same situation arises in case of Coup?
So we're a company registered in India, and like every other company registered in India, we'll have to follow the law of the land, irrespective, right? First, follow the law of land, because you don't want to be seen as, the person who doesn't follow. Like, whether it's aviation ministry, whether it is food, whether it is any other, like media, for example, everybody follows the law of the land for each of their verticals or industries, right? Like that, even social media has a set of law, right, to follow. And the way we see it, it is user friendly. If somebody has to, post a grievance, there was no way to know that when I say, this post is abusing me, please take it down. There was nobody to approach, and nobody was answerable to take it down within a certain number of hours. That's what the new IT guidelines also bring about. And whenever there is a takedown request, it is an official request that is transparently done. So even at Coup, if we get a request, if we have to take down, we will follow the process. We will tell the person that, this is the order that we've received, and your coup is in that, is described as that, and hence we will have to take it down. And you will be given an opportunity to take it down before we do, right? So this is not like the 99% of what is happening, or 99.9% of what is happening. Just like on the roads of every city of India, there will be folks who will jump the red light, right? And there will be enough people who are waiting for the light to turn green. So this is for the people who actually jump the red signal, right? Which is 0.1% of the entire audience. So when you take action, right, against people who do that, you basically are making it safer for the 99.9% of the folks who are doing extremely straightforward posts on the platform, right? So that's our approach. As in, it's extremely clear, transparent. We are not the judges. We will not say what is right or wrong. We live in the land of India. Land of law is defined, and the way we behave offline, like in a hall full of people, you cannot say anything, and if somebody gets pissed off, he can go to the cops and complain against you. Similarly, if you say something on social media, if somebody gets pissed off and complains against you and it has to be taken down, it is the law of the land. And we are going to be taking this as a way to operate in every country. So what we do in Nigeria will be based on what their rules are. What we do in the US will be based on what their rules are. So different countries are at different stages, and they measure what is important for their society differently, right? So that is what our approach to the whole thing is.
So, Aprameya, the content moderation is a significant part of or a role that a platform has to play.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite surprised that you are saying that you will not moderate anything, because you are believing that all elements or all kinds of people on your platform will somehow be on their best behavior. I actually don't think that's true, because
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying there are people, elements which will not behave, right? And I am not saying I will not moderate.
no, but I'm saying that. So sorry, which is what I was just trying to get to that. As a platform, are you going to moderate? Will you have a team of engineers who will moderate posts on your platform? Yes or no?
I want to add a little question to that. That I understood that you're saying that you won't come in between of the government and a post. But what happens when a user reports, say, something for hate speech or something like that?
So moderation happens with user feedback, some notice, or our machine learning on past instances or keywords, right? So it's not as black and white every time. So for example, in our community guidelines, there is, no pornography, right? Now, the definition of pornography is something that everybody will agree to very easily, and hence our machine learning will take over and take down posts that are pornographic in nature. That is the black and white situation of pornography. Then there comes hate speech, let's say. Hate speech in certain situations is black and white. In certain situations, it divides the community, saying some people will say it's right, some people will say it's wrong, right? So our machine learning will always learn on black and white situations and keep trying to see how many gray area situations can become black and white. If I say I want to kill you, this person, this community has to be killed, all of those things, right, are clear hate speech going, and which can affect the offline world, right? And if there are enough reports on it, we will definitely take it down, right? It all depends on context. It's not, every time you use the word kill, I will not take it down. It's not that, right? But there are enough gray areas. In the gray areas, as an intermediary, we will not take the decision, is all that we are saying. In black and white situations where we know from past and reports from the community as well as any takedown requests otherwise, we know what is right and wrong for the land of India. In gray area situations where we haven't dealt with it before, it will be up to the community. So we're enabling in the future a democratized way of fact checking. So you come across some content and you think that that is wrong, it's false. I will give you a button which says fact check this, right? And then it goes to unknown fact checking body which might do it for free or whatever it is, and then it comes back as, okay, this has been checked as a fact. So I want to build, so this is not live yet, so the whole flow is not yet taken shape, but this is the way we want to democratize it, right? And tomorrow somebody has a problem with something and it is not black and white, you please send a takedown request with the notice from the relevant authority, and I need a reason to take down if I don't know the reason, right? If I know,
yeah, so I got that. I'll put together a couple of examples, Aprameya. So let's say somebody on the platform says that let's say a particular community has no right to exist or to live. As many words. Do you have the tech today or the wherewithal today to decide whether this is black and white or is this gray?
no, there are enough. So fortunately for us, social media has existed for 15 years.
Sure.
There has been mistakes or the correct ways of dealing with situations. There have been examples of it already.
Sure.
So we have the opportunity to learn, right? The users expect one, transparency of your action, and another, consistency of your action. So all our actions are basically tuned towards these two words. When I take an action, can I transparently say that I've taken this action? Because the user will be told.
No, so
And
but do you have this thing today, Aprameya? Can you do this today? I mean, in your framework of black and white and gray, I just
yeah,
want to understand where does something like this fit in? Because I
so,
think I got the answer.
yeah, definition of black and white is basically based on our discussions with various lawyers, people who have dealt with social networks. So we err on the side of being gray rather than actually saying this is black and white. So we want to as much take a position where we are certain when we take an action on behalf of the community, right? Not be in a place where sometimes I take it down, sometimes I don't, because that's human error.
Which is something that I've heard you before say, something which you think is arbitrary, which is something that Twitter indulges in. Do you have a point on that?
Well, I can't comment directly on what they do and don't do because I don't know the processes. But from the outside, it does look, sometimes it's taken towards freedom of speech, sometimes it's taken to security, right? Depending on the country of, where it's happening and all those things. And it might not be in the best interest all the time. So it's vague. Like I can't put a framework to, inconsistent behavior, right? So
Okay. Do you have a moderation team right now at Coup? Where are you in that journey?
no, we have a moderation team, as in they act on community reported coups, right? That is their job. And they, based on their action, our machine learning keeps learning on what keywords are usually correct and what are not. Right? So we keep improving. So we have our machine learning team in place to work on this. And we have our moderation team, which works on as in community reported coups.
Okay. I'll take Prashant's question, guys, just sort of break our monotony. Prashant is saying, isn't that going to be a problem for Coup too, if you are operating in different countries and different countries have different tolerance levels, which will make even Coup arbitrary? Aprameya?
Like I'm saying that finally the call will be taken taken based on that law of land. Like we're live in Nigeria. Today, how we act in, so there will be the black and white definitions for hate speech, pornography, blah, 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 will be defined for each country separately, right? Based on the knowledge there, what we speak to lawyers there, all of those things. Then there'll be gray areas. The gray areas will be defined separately for each country. So the operations in every country is not arbitrary. You sitting in India might say, okay, what Nigeria did is wrong, but what Nigeria did is correct according to them. So we have to respect the existence of an elected government and them being answerable to their own citizens, rather than me going and saying, I know what you need to do, right? That's the position we want to be in. The whole idea is to make sure that every country can, without fear, run its own democratically elected government without somebody else passing a judgment on what's right and wrong, right? Because, a private company can't do that.
Sorry, Javier, I know you want to ask a question, but I just have a quick follow-up on what he said. Aprameya, what is your take on the Twitter throwing out Donald Trump?
My take, I'm too small, man, to comment on all these things.
No, you're building a competing product, right? And you have a lot of politicians on your platform, preferably, I mean, for now, all of them mostly from the ruling party. So I just want to understand, what is your take of what they say on the platform? Like, how would you treat them? So A is, how did you see that decision? B, what is your take? How will you sort of evaluate that for Coup?
So we will stick to our guidelines. Like so I don't know what extent of the tweet makes them remove a person, block an account, remove a tweet. I have no clue. Okay, so it's extremely inconsistent for me to comment on it. But we are forming our own guidelines where we say, if there is a person of repute, right, in a country, it could be anybody from any party, Bollywood person, anybody, they need to be given a chance to take down their own content based on some law of the land. Now, if the person is told, based on this takedown notice, you will not be able to say it. It is not because of me. Your own country says this cannot be said. Right? So that is the philosophy with which we will take an action on this.
See, but Twitter for the longest time did a fact check on most of Trump's tweets. And this is also where you are probably headed, right? Because you want to do a fact check of tweets as well. And you will have the same problem. What are you going to do?
No, the problem happens when you publicly humiliate somebody.
You think that labeling that tweet or that piece of content as that it is fact check and it is proved to be wrong is humiliation?
No, it seems like an outright fight. Okay, so the mood on Coup is very different. The mood on Coup is to be respectful of everybody's views, right? That's the mood we're setting, and hope that it becomes a much better place than what exists already, right? So where some people, when a person you don't like comes to your house, some people won't even allow the person inside. Some people will be very polite. They'll ask them to sit on the sofa, give them coffee, talk to them, although they don't like it. Some people will take it for 5 minutes and say, I need to go, you can stay at my house. So see, the platform is a reflection of multiple scenarios and your reactions to it. You can be polite doing the same thing, right? Whether you want to be polite or not is the only question.
Yeah, but again, I have a different point on this. I'm just saying that, when somebody as influential as Trump, or somebody who's maybe, let's say, for the lack of a better example, let's say Mr. Modi, who's on your platform, and puts out a tweet or puts out a coup, which basically says that, something which is false. I'm very curious to know, how will you label it that you fact checked it, and it is not true?
I actually have a specific question to that. If we take the recent example of Ravi Shankar Prasad and the copyright violation and how they blocked the account for for a few hours and the
Yeah.
outrage that followed. How would you proceed with something like that?
No, so we never got a complaint of any copyright violation of anything, right? So till we get a complaint, I cannot take an action, right? Why will I take an action on something? How will I take an action? So let's say you put out something that is false, right? Outright false. I will come and give you a notification saying, this is the reason why somebody has said it's false. It's been fact checked by this person. It's saying, so would you like to take it down or would you like to challenge it? So you make it an involved process rather than.
That's what I'm saying, right? That thing is already very popular. What has been said, it's already something that's part of WhatsApp groups because it travels so fast, right? I mean, that's always been the problem of social, right? And which is why there is this need to publicly label it as saying this is untrue. Your private discussion of maybe sort of incentivizing or being the nice guy and trying to tell a person to take it down, I wonder whether that will actually work. That's what I'm trying to say.
If you have enough proof from the community itself that something is false, no, as in everybody who wants to be true about it will act accordingly. Because see, again, there is a thin line between the platform taking that call versus the community or the law of land taking that call. I am saying the reason social media gets into trouble today is because they take that call, or at least it looks like they take the call. What I am saying is, who will always take the call based on community, based on community fact check, based on a takedown request. It has to be formal, right? It might take time, but the process will also be labeled. Like on Swiggy, if the food is arriving to your house, you know that it's arriving. You know that it's being cooked. So I will give you a live status of what's happening. If somebody is really fact checking it, we'll say fact check under progress.
So if a music label, sorry. So if a music label say reports the tweet, like it did in the Ravi Shankar Prasad case, saying that this is a copyright violation, what is the process after that at Coup?
We'll check whether it's actually a copyright violation, as in whether the claim is right, and then we'll tell the creator there's a claim, and this is what you need to do. That's it.
And you give like a few hours to take it down, and then you go ahead and take it down yourself. What is it like?
So, yes, you'll get enough time to make your own judgment on it. You could even challenge it, saying no, I don't think this is the thing. So the real-time status of what is happening with that particular coup is what is missing, right? So if somebody challenges it, it should be shown. If somebody says, okay, yeah, I think this copyright thing is right, I'll just put up something else, it's fine. So you, as an intermediary, you should act like an intermediary, right? There is a guy who's creating content, there is a guy who's reacting to it, there are other people who think it's false, somebody else says no, it is actually true. So your job is to make sure there is transparency between all of them for them to take their own decisions. Everybody's an adult, and that's what we expect from people, right? You give enough transparency in the platform so that everything is out there. Like if, despite it being false, if somebody doesn't take down something, now you can see what that means on the platform, right? So I think that's where we will.
Okay. Habeen, we'll take a couple of questions.
Yeah, I have one in front of me, which basically says that how will you grow without focusing on the English-speaking urban audience, considering that demographic is growing and is definitely more tech savvy? And I have a follow-up to that, in fact, that what is the user base like on Coup right now?
Yeah. So that statement of English-speaking audience we're not focusing on is not true, right? Because we do have English. The English-speaking audience should join Coup to connect to the rest of India, right? What Twitter does for you is basically connects you to the rest of the world. What Coup does for you is connect you deeper. So I'm a Kannadiga. I have never told any of my startup journey stories in Kannada on any social media platform. I've never had Kannadiga followers because of that. Are there enough people who want to know stories on startups in Kannada? Yes. Do I have a platform so far? No. Because Coup exists, now I will make an attempt to also talk in Kannada and get Kannada followers. I am an English speaking guy, right? So this opens up a different world for me. So hence, the reason for an English speaking person of India to be on Coup is very different from why you should be on Twitter.
Okay.
On the country and world part, I think we have one more question. How would you handle cases when users from two different countries are a part of the conversation?
Yeah, today, so it's about focus, right? We're building deeper into every country. So we will, in the first phase, we will build every country deeper, which means the non-existing connections in local language is what we will focus on, right? And connect them to the English-speaking population of that country. We will do that in 10 different countries. Then let's say there is a layer of English. We will connect all of them together, right? So it's a step-by-step process. Solve the unsolved problems first.
Okay, I have a question. Don't you think that the launch for Coup in English language was very opportunistic, considering what you saw was happening with Twitter and the government? And let's say for a moment, let's assume that you did not sort of give in to that opportunistic thing and continued with your local languages approach of solving for social media, that it would have turned out where you would have far less focus on that, on you being called a right winger and all of that which has followed in the last few months.
Well, I'm apolitical. As in anybody, including my wife, says, "Was I don't know how they're calling you anything because you don't have any opinion on anything that happens." So it's a very funny situation to be in. I'm a technology first guy. I love startups. I love entrepreneurs who think big, dream big. So that's my positioning, right? Like, there is nothing that distracts me apart from that. So your question was it opportunistic? No, I will give you a proof of it. December 2020, when Trump got banned in the US, is when we said, boss, if it ever happens in any other part of the world, right, we should have English. There was a reason to have English. Till then, there was no reason to have English, right? There was an unsolved problem with language speaking guys to come together for thoughts and opinions. That's what we were solving. Then we saw this opportunity, not the India fight. It was, oh, US is behaving this way. If they behave like this anywhere else, that is an opportunity for us. And that is what made us launch English in December 2020. It so happened that in February 2021, it actually happened in India, that there was a fight. And, it rose. But these are things that you cannot predict. If I could predict, then I would have been much more readier than what we were as a product, right? So I think while we saw it as a strategy to play on there, then we also saw that the English audience also needs to connect to everybody else. The example that I gave of myself. So I think these are puzzle pieces coming together, right? And obviously, no human can ever plan all of this together and say, okay, I really masterminded this. I don't take credit for it.
Okay. I'll take a couple of quick questions, Havin. Yeah. Aprameya, Jayashree has this question. I think it's a pretty solid one. Many of the solutions on moderation, which you've suggested, according to her, works only in an ideal world. When tweets and coups are instantaneous, will a delayed or a fair response work, which can incite violence? Won't that be a problem? What do you think?
Yeah. It's a real-time world, and yes, we have to act as fast as we can, right? The whole world of social media is still solving this problem. And our intent to solve is the right way, and we will keep making progress on it. But we know that we should not take the call, right? Labeling it and then turning out false. All those are very crazy situations to be in, where you lose credibility as a platform. You'd rather be very sure about your action, which is why we will take actions on black and white situations. If there's a gray area, that is what it is, right? In a hall full of people, if somebody says something that cannot be fact checked, there are 1,000 people you have influenced, and that is what will happen. The only difference is that online, it will travel faster at a much higher velocity, which is what we will find solutions to. So if there are a lot of reports on something, so we'll find ways to figure out whether something is leading towards something being false. There'll be enough indicators of that based on number of reports, based on who reported it, all of those things, and see what actions need to be taken. So this is a continuously evolving process. And I'm happy to engage with anybody on this forum to say what is it exactly that solves it for all three guys, right? Keeping the user as the first person in mind, government of the country, and the platform. You should think of all the existence of all these three guys in harmony, right? Any solution better than what I'm saying, please write to me and I'm happy to take a look at it.
Okay, if okay, that's a good way to get people to sort of participate on Coup. So, if a coup gets banned in Nigeria, can I still see it in India?
Gets what in Nigeria?
Banned in Nigeria, can I still see it in banned? If a coup gets banned in Nigeria,
So right
or
now,
taken down or whatever, can you still see it in India?
right now the product itself is structured as countries. So you need to enter Nigeria. There you won't find it. In India, you won't find it anyways.
Okay. Why does Coup look so similar to Twitter? And this is Harsha's question. For an indigenous app, shouldn't it have a more indigenous design?
Okay. So the concept is microblogging. The concept is, spreading a message from one person to many, right? So are you talking about the look of the logo or look of the app? Okay. So
I think she's talking about the whole thing, right? I mean, it looks exactly like Twitter, right? I mean, if you just sort of change a few things.
but the bird is a symbol of carrying messages for centuries, man. Not centuries. Let's go back to Maine Pyar Kiya, right? Kabutar ja ja ja. Like, who copied whom? God knows, right? So the bird is universal for spreading messages. So nobody owns the bird. And microblogging, when you look at it, um, you basically are saying you say something in a concise manner, right? Now, in local languages, the concise manner needs 400 characters. Now, we've gone deep enough to know, okay, whatever you wanted to say, if you said it in English, maybe you will say it in 280, but here you need 400. There are tweaks. We have voice coups when we launched last year, right? Twitter has introduced it recently. We have something called talk to type, which makes it easy for somebody who doesn't want to type in local languages to type, right? So it's the nuances that matter. Snapchat was born out of disappearing messages. The concept of messages always existed. It is the tweak on top of it, right? Sharing photos was on Facebook, but Instagram exists because they introduced filter. So it's not like, the concept of comment, like, share exists on every platform, right? Social platform. So these tweaks are what makes it special, right? So that's my response to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Minus
You want to
the
take the last two questions? So, okay, we are out of time. It's 7:45.
yeah.
Siddharth and this anonymous attendee both have really solid questions. So I'll
Yeah.
request you to pick both.
Yeah. So the anonymous attendee says that as a Coup user, I see that the way native Kannada users use it is very different from how English speakers use it. The former seem to use it mostly to talk about everything but politics, and the latter almost nothing but politics. Do you see this in other language coups as well?
Yeah, very good point. I don't know why you're anonymous to ask this question, but very, very good observation. Because as soon as you put a language filter, it becomes more about culture. So you're you're writing poems, you're celebrating local festivals, and all of those things come out a lot more. You're putting pictures of local food, right? And less about politics. So the way I look at it is there's Twitter India and Coup English, and Coup every other language is in the white space. Like there is nobody there. And I've also seen a tendency in Coup English, just like Twitter India, to have a lot of discussions. There's a lot more animosity and hate, and all of those things happen very quickly, right? But in the local language, they disagree very politely, right? So I think it's about our perception of how much we know, maybe, right? Because the English speaker is worldly, a lot more worldly than the others. Maybe they think, okay, I've read more, I know more, and hence getting into a lot of fights is easier, while they may not mean it.
Yeah. So the next question is, what if organizations like Patanjali push coronal as a COVID deterrent on Coup? Would you ask them to take down the Coup, considering there's no scientific backing of coronal? That's a fun one.
So many of these questions are hypothetical, man. What do you
Yeah.
what do you do here?
I think, I think what you do is label them as fake news and sort of move on, but it's something that you don't want to do. So I think that's where this question comes from.
So see, again, let me make myself very clear. In everything, fake news, there are black and white, then there is gray. This particular thing like coronal, if the government of India has already said it doesn't, or if I get a takedown request saying that this is not true, then I have to tell the creator that this is what I've been told by the health ministry or whoever gives me that order, right? And then take it down. So it's not that we will never take down anything. It has to be black and white. And the proof for something gray to become black and white has to come from the law of the land, because I'm not the judge.
I know, but Aprameya, that's where the thing
Ambiguity.
comes in, right? I mean, coronal or a Patanjali is fairly close with the powers that be. So you will never have a situation where you will have somebody from the government come out and say that coronal actually does not cure you of a COVID. But it's still something that is fairly viral on your platform. Would you want your users to sort of believe in it?
No, so that is where we'll also evolve as an organization, right? Like, if you clearly know that there is enough proof for it, something to be black and white, you will start engaging, saying,
But
okay,
let's take this example, right? I mean, in the States, I mean, Donald Trump at some point was saying that you can have bleach, which will sort of cure you for COVID, right? I mean, would you say that this is bullshit? I mean, or would you not? Because I think that's pretty clear, right? It's still the government.
yeah, so let me paint a picture of what a social platform is to everybody. Offline world, we are basically the hall, right? If I a hall, right? In a 5-star hotel, there's a hall.
No, I know it's very poetic. Please go on. Yes.
So we're a hall, and if I put in a lot of speakers and put in a lot of lights, you can use it for dancing. If I put in a god's picture and make it put in a lot of mats, you can use it for meditation, yoga, whatever. So the hall takes the shape of who is there, right? And we give you the mic. If somebody else in the hall says what is being said is wrong and here's the proof of it, yes. But if somebody is saying something wrong and it is already known to be wrong, then we know what to do with it. That's it. I'm being very clear about it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we have run out of time.
I have one small question
please go for it,
from
please.
a very business thing. I think after the TikTok ban, everyone who's operating in that space is sort of at the mercy of TikTok not being there, the complete absence of it. In your case, the rival very much exists here. What's the plan? Where do you go from here?
No, I'm saying they should exist. As in, it's bad if they don't, because connection to the world is not something that we're solving today. So India being connected to the world will be solved by Twitter. India being connected deeper, and for each person on this call as well to connect to your audience in your mother tongue, wherever you're from Tamil Nadu, they all want to hear your stories, your point of view, because you're perceived to be more successful than everybody else who's still in your hometown. To connect to them, to be able to say what you're thinking, to pass on what you know, Coup is the place, right? And with this empowerment, uh, if Coup can accelerate the self-development of every person, because they know more, they know how to think better. So all of those things are side effects that will happen with giving a voice to every Indian, right? So I think that's the thing. Like we started when Twitter still existed. We've thrived when Twitter still exists, and we will keep growing because we have a very, very different market and a very different reason to exist. And it will be the same in every country that we go to.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Aprameya, thanks so much for taking the time. I'm glad that you've been able to answer, or we've sort of asked you the questions that we had in mind and that people have been asking you. But yeah, it was great to have you. Thanks everyone for joined in. Really great session, and we'll see you for the next TMC dialogues.